Today's guest has made history for several reasons. She's the first woman of colour to receive an Oscar for costume design for the iconic film Black Panther. She made history again earlier this year when she got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, making her the first Black costume designer to receive the distinction and only the second costume designer ever to have a star. I'm delighted to welcome Ruth E Carter to the show. Hello, Ruth.
Hi.
Malcolm X, Do the Right Thing, Selma, and of course, Black Panther. You are the costume designer on all of those films. They're just some of the 60 films and TV projects that you've worked on that are being showcased in a retrospective of your work at the SCAD Fashion Museum of Fashion and Film in Atlanta. What is it like seeing all of that work together in one place?
It's overwhelming. I go through my exhibition and I think about, all of the stories that I felt so close and so connected to as I read about African American history in this country and going all the way back to Africa. I'm just filled with joy.
And you won your Oscar for Black Panther. There were a number of historic breakthroughs as a result of this film, the highest grossing film from a Black director, the highest grossing film with a Black lead, and the first ever Black winner of the Best Costume Design Oscar. For your designs, you were influenced by Indigenous tribes across Africa. Tell us a bit about the different cultures incorporated and why this was really important for you.
It was important to highlight there's so many wonderful tribal influences throughout the continent, and we picked 12 to be inspired by. And I felt that we needed to explore different forms of beauty, to retrain the eye, to see different ways of looking at royalty, different ways of expressing power and the influences of African tribal wear throughout the ages.
And creating pioneering looks rooted in African tradition, you broke the mold for superhero movie costumes. You combined elements from many African tribes and you rendered them futuristic. The name of your exhibition is Afrofuturism in costume design. Tell us, how do you define Afrofuturism?
Well, there is the clear definition that it's hard science mixed with a superhero model, infusing African tribal elements into it. But there's also the personal side of Afrofuturism, and that is your own personal vision for the future and how you see your culture moving forward with a more positive, future.
And your latest work can be seen in the new film Coming to America. We're all desperate to see it. There are more than 800 different costumes. Let's take a look.
Hello, I am Hakim Jaffer, King of Zamunda. You are the heir to the throne.
Yes, my father.
He's supposed to be like the Prince of Wakanda.
Wakanda is a fictional place.
Not to everybody.
Zamunda is a very real nation.
I don't need no handout. Wait a minute. All right, I'm gonna pack. Okay, baby.
Now, Ruth, before you knew that you'd be working on the film Coming to America, during the filming of Black Panther, you almost had a dress rehearsal for designing the costumes, didn't you? Tell us about that.
Yes, it was Lupita Nyong'o's birthday party, and she wanted to theme it as Coming to America. And everyone in the cast flooded into my office to get something to wear. And I was like, wait, this is not Zamunda, this is Wakanda. But we were able to actually make some replicas. And so we dressed Lupita and Denai, and we helped out Michael B. Jordan, and we had some fun with it. But it was a little taste of Zamunda right in the middle of shooting Black Panther.
And for Coming to America, there were a lot of challenges, honouring the first movie, which was 30 years ago, honouring Africa, but also addressing changes that have taken place in the past 30 years concerning the way the rest of the world sees Africa. Tell us how you updated the world of Zamunda, working with more than 36 designers from all around the world.
Yes, it was a wonderful exploration in what is modern Africa today. And I was introduced to so many talented African designers, Palesa Mapubang, Laduma Max Gosa, Mimi Plange. I mean, the list goes on. And I wanted to make a worldview of Zamunda. I remembered from the first film, there was a sari worn, there were East Indian influences. So I went to J.J. Valaya of East India, and I also included his work in the film. But I mean, the list is vast, and that's because we were creating a modern Africa in Zamunda that I felt would be inclusive of these designers.
And while the regal African looks in Coming to America might remind viewers of Black Panther, there are major differences between the aesthetics of Zamunda and Wakanda. Talk to us about that.
Well, one is a little bit more serious. It's a superhero model. It's they're warring. If Wakanda was the military force of Africa, then Zamunda was the fashion capital. So the difference was that, you know, one is where the leading in technology with vibranium, and the other was just a fun place to go and enjoy a big wedding or a big funeral.
And you recently got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Congratulations. Tell us about the start of this journey. You grew up in Massachusetts with 7 brothers and sisters. You trained at Hampton College in Virginia. Tell us about your decision to come to Hollywood. How did you end up there?
It just kind of happened. I was at the Santa Fe Opera, and one of my relatives asked if I wanted to come to Los Angeles and pursue film. But I had been in opera and doing The Tempest and The English Cat. I had been in theater doing Vanya and Shakespeare. I had a love for theater, and so film was so far out of my scope. And then one day I met Spike Lee, and he advised me how to get more film experience. And I personally didn't think I needed film experience because I wasn't planning on getting into film. And before I knew it, I was designing his first studio film, School Days.
And since then, you've worked with Spike Lee on 14 films. Tell us, how did working with him help you develop?
Well, he was like my first mentor. He actually would go shopping with me for certain characters. He would talk to me about needing multiples and you know, just the different nuances of filmmaking. He made sure that I was adept at, and so we went through the paces together. You know, there were no bad answers. There were no wrong answers. He really did, you know, shepherd me into the film industry.
And Ruth, you've transformed so many people: Oprah Winfrey into voting rights activist Annie Lee Cooper, Denzel Washington into Malcolm X, and Chadwick Boseman into the King of Wakanda, of course. The exhibition also features garments worn by Angela Bassett, Eddie Murphy, Rosie Perez, and Forrest Whitaker. Is there a personal highlight for you?
Oh, it's definitely Wakanda. I feel like the Black Panther costumes in the exhibition, it culminates everything I've ever done in my career. It really does represent how I have researched, and I have had this love for costume design for many years. And these are really the embodiment of the whole exhibition in terms of what it means and the meaning behind it.
And your success is really testament to how important costumes are, portraying their own story in their own right. You've used this visual communication to share narratives of culture, race, and politics. Tell us, do you see your work as political?
I do. I feel like when we were on the set of Do the Right Thing, we really knew that we were making a protest film. And that film is now in the Library of Congress. And it stands as it's still a commentary, a statement that can be made still today. Unfortunately, we're still struggling, and our voices are being heard.
And tell us, what's it like over in Hollywood at the moment? Obviously, we're into a pandemic that's been going on for a year now. What's life been like for you and your work?
Well, it's isolated me. It's also helped me focus. I get a lot of interaction from, doing fittings and having all of that. And we haven't really started our fitting process, but it has helped me focus on designs. And I've been able to reach out all over the world to bring in illustrators, just like I did with the fashion designers. I've embraced illustrators from Siberia, the Netherlands, and South Africa, and we've all come together to create art, and that's been the positive side of the pandemic, and in that we're all virtual, and so you can interface with anyone who lives anywhere, and I just love that aspect now.
It's really opened us up to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't be interviewing you if it hadn't been for this pandemic. Right now, you're in production for Black Panther 2. It's scheduled for release in the summer of 2022. I'm sure you're going to say you can't tell us anything about it, but is there anything you can tell us?
Well, just like Coming to America was a continuation, it wasn't the remake of the first film, it was a continuation of the story 30 years later. I think people will be excited to see the continued story of Black Panther.
Okay, Ruth, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a real pleasure. Your 40-year career filled with trailblazing work is being celebrated in a retrospective at the SCAD Fashion Museum of Fashion and Film in Atlanta. The show is called Ruth E Carter, Afrofuturism in Costume Design, and it's on until September. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you to all you guys at home for your company. See you next time.
And his moms.
Children, this is your brother.
Hey, Quay. I'm sorry I slept with your man.
This happened before we even met.
It's not like you're the first man I've ever been with.
What did you just say about the other men?
Coming to America, now it's coming to me.
I always thought that Mika was going to be queen.
A woman isn't allowed to rule, Zamunda. It's the law.
Did it ever occur to you that Mika wanted to be your heir?
Would you dare banish me from my own bedroom?